Hey guys, welcome to JazzedTutorials. This week's video is going to be another text effect tutorial, but I assure you it has more than just text. It has also other cool styles, textures, and other awesome things. I found a variation of this tutorial online, and I thought it was really cool, but I thought, well, I can't exactly take that and make a video about it because that'd be copyright, sort of, kind of, so I just twisted it and kind of made it my own. So it's not exactly like what I saw, but it's similar. It's just some other things I've added into it. So what I've done, I've opened a canvas, a black canvas. I used a 1024 by 768 size, but go ahead and use whatever size you like. Doesn't really matter. You'll have to adjust the size of your text, obviously, to suit that canvas. So I did a couple layers already here, but I'm going to continue with it so you know what you're doing. So type your text of whatever text you like. I used Future, I think it's called Futurama, or no, Futura Medium. That one came on my computer, standard, but if you don't have it on your computer, you can go ahead and download it. I'm sure dafont.com has it. If they don't have it, just go to google.com and type in Futura, and you can find it. Or you can use in Arial font as well. Those two would work really well. So anything that's similar to what I have for a font would work really well for this. Alright, once you've added your text, double click the layer, and you're going to add a gradient stroke. Now, a gradient stroke is easily to be made. When you're down here where it says fill type, you just select gradient instead of color. And basically you're going to leave it as it is. It's already set black and white. Just leave that as it is. And the angle needs to be 90 degrees. Alright, once you've set that, leave it alone. The size and everything else can stay the same. That's all you're changing, is just the angle and the gradient color. Alright, then we're going to add a gradient overlay. And the gradient overlay is a little bit different than what's already there. You'll see black and white should already be automatically there, but we're going to twist that a little bit. So black and white's already there. So on the end one here, we're going to select a really nice gray color, about 50% gray. I think would do nicely. And then in the middle, I added a white color. Yep, I added white. And then I also added a really nice light gray. And I put that just behind the white. Not too far behind it, but enough so you get that subtle gray, but not too gray. And then I just clicked OK. I'm going to click cancel because it's right there. Alright, and then the rest can stay the same. You're going to leave that as is, and then hit return, because you're good to go. And you should see text like this. It's going to kind of be all faded and cool. Alright, and then after that, you're going to add a new layer above your text. And the new layer is going to be a gradient layer. Now, you could technically add just a gradient adjustment layer, but I felt like that wasn't going to really work well because in other steps we're doing, it may not work well. So I thought just make a new layer and use a gradient color, because that way you can adjust the position of the colors in there. Now, the gradient colors I've chosen are just a random red, yellow, green, and blue. But use any four you like, as long as they're bright. Make sure they're very bright. You don't have to use my colors. I just randomly chose them. So go ahead and pick your own four bright colors and set them up similar to what I have here. Alright, then, oops, we're not going to go there right yet. Then what you'll see is you'll get something kind of like this, and I immediately changed my opacity down to 72%, and then I'm going to change the blend mode to the gradient layer to soft light, and you should see something kind of like that. If you want to change if it's too much of a, if your colors are too bright and you need to change the opacity even more, go ahead and do so, but for me, 72% worked really well. But again, yours may be different considering the colors you've chosen. And keep in mind, don't use anything too dark of a color, because too dark of a color won't give it that really wow factor effect that we're looking for, so make sure it's really bright and obnoxious that you choose for your gradient colors. Alright. So once you have that, you're going to then paste on this lovely texture here, which I will provide for you in the description below, so don't worry, it'll be there. And when you paste that, it's going to be rather large, so you can move it around, do whatever you want. And then go ahead and turn that layer into vivid light. And when you do that, you will get that nice looking effect. That is pretty rad. Alright, now that does it for the text effect part of it. Now we're going to work in making the background of this whole effect. So we're going to make a new layer now. And we're going to go over here to our brushes, and we're going to choose a 5px soft round brush. And we're going to, ultimately we're going to make a cool, cloud effect. Now, you could go ahead and download some cloud brushes and make the effect that way. I'm sure it would work just as well, but I think doing it with the brushes this way would work really well. So here we go. Okay, so we're gonna make we made the new layer, and over here on your brush section, we're gonna create this lovely cloud-like brush. Now, again, if you want to use a cloud brush you've downloaded, by all means go ahead and do so, but I happen to like this way just as well. So I selected the shape dynamics, scattering texture. Now, in some of the Photoshop versions, the word transfer will also say other dynamics, so check that off as well. But for me, in CS5 extended, it says transfer. It's the same thing. Alright, and then smoothing is selected, and that's it. So here we go. The brush tip size needs to be 503px because you need to have it that size to get the cloud-like effect you're looking for. Now, if your canvas is rather small, it won't really matter too much because you'll see in the end why. So go ahead and use Shape Dynamics and put these settings in. The size jitter should say 80%, and the pen pressure should be selected, and angle is 0, and roundness is 0, and those two controls are off. Alright, next one's scattering. Make sure both axes are selected, 120% for the scatter. Pen pressure is selected, the count is 5, count jitter is 65, and the control is off. Alright, now to the texture. You need to invert this texture, just so you know. And it's going to be this one here, that one right there. If that texture is not in your swatches already, go ahead and load that. By now you should know how to load those textures. If not, go ahead and over here, if you don't know how to do it, this is how you do it. You just go over here and load patterns, go into your Photoshop preset file, and you should see textures, or in there, and you can find it within one of those automatically, because it is in Photoshop automatically. It comes standard with Photoshop, so you should see it in there. Alright, once you have that loaded and put on there, make sure your scale is set at 404%, texture each tip, make the blend mode color burn, the depth is 100%, minimum is 13, and the depth jitter is 99, and control is pen pressure. Alrighty, down here to transfer / other dynamics, you're going to select the opacity jitter to be 21%, control is pen pressure, minimum's staying at 0, flow jitter is 10%, and pen pressure is selected, and the rest stay at 0. Then just check off smoothing, and you should see something similar to what I have down here below. Maybe not exactly like mine, but close enough. Alrighty, once you have that made, make sure your brush color is white, and begin painting over your text like so. You can choose to do it however you like. There's really no set. I'm just doing it like this. Just randomly paste them on there, and you may have to do a control backspace, or control Z I should say, and go back and redo, because sometimes you don't get the exact look you're looking for. So if you don't get what you're looking for with the first try, go ahead and just redo and redo. Because since you scattered these, you're going to need to go ahead and redo multiple times, because it's not going to be perfect every single time. Alright, I'm going to just use that for now. I think, you know what, no, here, we're going to fix this just a bit. Because I don't really like these clouds. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how come I can't just go in to do the rendering clouds thing? Well, that would be a lot of extra work and effort, and I don't think that would look as good as if you did it this way. So that's why we're doing it this way instead of doing rendering clouds and making a selection and all that jazz, because that would take up a lot of time and it would be too much time consuming. So when in doubt, do it the easy way. Alright then, double click this, and we're going to make sure it has an inner shadow. You don't need to change anything here. Leave it as is, and you're good to go. Now we're going to make this cloud layer we just made morph into everything we've done below this. So in order to do that, you need to then go ahead and move this below everything, but above the background. Ooh, look at that. Now we want the text to just be part of the background and nothing else. So here's what you're going to do with that one. Go to your text layer, and you're going to do a control click or command click on the thumbnail. That way you can make that selected, just the text itself. Click on the gradient layer, and bam, bam. Oh, remask that out. Ooh, that looks really pretty. So you've done that. Now we are going to add a clouds layer with the render and all that jazz. But that's because we're going to make another kind of background for this. So you're probably thinking, well, that's confusing. You just said you weren't going to do it. Well, I meant that as in for the clouds itself. But now we're going to make one for the background. So, make a new layer. I'm naming this clouds 1, just so I know what this is. Or just clouds, rather. Now, I'm going to add a gradient. Actually, you know what? No. We'll do that next. Okay. Sorry to confuse you all. So make sure black and white's in your swatches, because if not, you're going to get a really odd gradient. You're going to get an odd color. So, filter, render, clouds. Ooh, yay! But that's below that layer, one above. Alright. Double click that layer. Add a gradient overlay. We're going to select 2 fine colors. We're going to choose this one first. And then we're going to choose a lovely purple. By the way. Oops. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Alright, you want that. So, there you go. Change that to soft light. And BAM! There you go. Gradient on top of that. We have a couple more things, one more step to go. We're going to change this layer to Vivid Light. And yay! But that's not really what I wanted. Oh, shiz. Let's see. There we go. Alright, there we have it. Move your clouds layer down below the everything, but above the other clouds layer. And you'll have something kind of like that. I might drop that opacity a bit to 80%. Now, you could probably go ahead, if you want right now, you can change the colors of your want gradient. But I kind of liked it the way it was, so I'm going to leave it that way. But you're free to change it up, whatever now. But I like that, so I'm going to leave it there. And you can go ahead now and move your text. But if you're going to move your text now, you need to hold down both of those layers and like so. Now, furthermore, you could add other cool effects. You could add more text. You could add other stuff. I'll show you how to do the next section of the text if you want to add more text to it. Just go like this. Oops. Of course, we gotta change the size of that one a bit. 48. I'm gonna place that right there. And get rid of that one there. Delete that layer mask. And you're going to control click this one and mask it out on there. And then you're going to copy that layer style and paste it there. but then you're going to need to move that down below. Strange. Hello. Alright, well, it didn't work as well as I thought it would, but hey, you get the idea of where I was going with that. So, yeah, you could take this whole tutorial a step further, way further than I did. In the actual tutorial that I did see, they went and added a whole bunch of random, cool, other really awesome stuff. But I don't know. I felt like that exaggerated it too much, so I left it here. This was my version of it. I mean, if you want me to show you the actual, like, the other steps they did, I can. I can just tell you how they did it via a typing message or whatever, but for now I think this looks good, so, in the final outcome, you'll probably see different versions. I made a couple of variations of this tutorial, so I'll show you different ways of doing it and whatnot, but this is just how I created it. This is the basic of this tutorial, but as always, there's endless possibilities in Photoshop, so you can always go further and add other effects to this. You could add a photo of someone, you could add more clouds, brushes, whatever. I mean, it's endless possibilities. I'm just giving you the base of this effect, so take it as you will and do what you want, because in your version you are your own Photoshop. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm just blabbing about nothing, so goodbye and see you next week.